Hey babe, I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode of Between Me and the Ink. It's Faye here, and today I want to share my notes on The Psychology of Money. The Psychology of Money is an international bestseller by Morgan Housel, and it contains timeless lessons on wealth, greed, and happiness. I first heard about this book from a friend of mine, and she was talking about how most of us millennials never really learned anything about money, and yet we expect to be good at not just making money, but also managing money and growing well. So when she recommended this book, I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley. So when my partner got the book, I was so happy because I knew for a fact that I was going to enjoy reading it. And I did enjoy reading the book. For me, it's very simple in terms of the writing, and the lessons are very easy to understand. If you have read it, you get what I'm saying, right? If you haven't read it, I wrote down about 8 of the lessons that kind of stuck with me while I was reading the book. So the first lesson was that your financial decisions are a result of your life experiences. I know a lot of people who like to say that they're not good with money or that they want to learn how to manage money. And I think that's a valid thing to want to learn, because if you don't know how to manage money, you're not going to be good at managing money. Managing money is not one of those things that you just figure out. Like, you have to actively learn and actively make an effort to do it better. So essentially, whenever you make a bad financial decision, you need to understand that that is based on what you know and how you think about the world. It is not a random choice. It's not a crazy choice. This means if you want to change the way you handle money, you have to change some very fundamental aspects of your worldview. And I think the best example I can give about this is how there are people who think if you spend money on yourself, it's like you're wasting money. These people are usually very, very comfortable spending a lot of their money on other people. I'm not saying that that is wrong. What I am saying is, if you are one of those people, you need to change how you see yourself and how you see the world, because spending money on yourself is not a waste. You might feel better when you spend money on other people, but that should not come at the expense of you spending your own money on your own needs. The second thing I learned from this book is that earning a lot of money is cool, but what is even cooler is keeping most of the money that you're earning. Because at the end of the day, it's saving and investing that will help you to build wealth. You can be making so much money, but if at the end of the day, all of that money flies out of your hands, honey, all the work you're putting in to earn all that money is not worth it. So yes, it is okay to strive for higher paying jobs, but at the end of the day, what will propel you financially is how much you are able to save and invest. Let's say if you're freelancing, you make 100K this weekend, and by the end of next week, you've spent all of it. It doesn't even matter where you spend your money. The problem is, if you're spending all the money that you're making, at the end of it all, you're not making anything. Lesson number 3 is about compound interests and generally just compounding in terms of growth. Those small increments, when you're building wealth, they count a lot. You can start building wealth at whatever level that you're at right now. Lesson number 4 is that wealth is a game of luck. Most people who end up very wealthy will tell you that luck was somewhat involved. Maybe they were at the right place at the right time. Maybe they just happened to know someone who knows someone who knows someone. Like, luck is a reality, and sometimes you're just not lucky. And yeah, it sucks, but it's the truth. Lesson number 5 is to always plan for failure. You cannot expect to always predict when things are going to go wrong, and that is why everyone needs an emergency fund. And if you're lucky enough to already have one, then good for you. Also, if you're lucky enough to have like a fallback plan, maybe your family is wealthy, also good for you. But for most of us, we need to figure out a way that will ensure that we are still able to sustain ourselves when everything else is not working. For example, if you're employed, what happens if you lose that job? What is your plan? Not having a backup plan is how you end up in jobs or relationships that are not serving you, because you don't know anything else apart from that. that opens you up to a lot of abuse, whether it's from an employer or even from your partner. So yeah, have an emergency fund, have a plan B, seek out low risk investments, diversify your portfolio. And when I say diversify your portfolio, I don't just mean in terms of investing. Lesson number 6, you need to define your financial identity to make it easier for you to save and invest. This means that don't decide that I want to be rich like so and so. No, I want to buy this car or I want to build this house like so and so. No, you need to think about the quality of life that you actually want and the kind of obstacles that you already face in your life. Like, for example, for me, my obstacle is more of a black tax thing. So whenever I'm making plans, I have to account for the fact that at some point, someone will have an emergency and I will have to help them out. So in all of my savings plans, I need a buffer that will allow me to still meet my goals and my targets, even if other emergencies come up. Also, under this lesson, I have to say that I learned that I have to plan for everything. In the past, I used to think that there are things that just take care of themselves. Like I don't have to plan for dates or vacations or like medical stuff. Looking back, that was really dumb. Look at your calendar. If you're planning for the next 3 months and you're planning to go somewhere within the next 3 months, why don't you just plan for it financially? Also, is it just me or do vacations and just trips, even if they're work trips, do they end up being more expensive than you expected? Because the last time I was in Coast, I did have a budget, but the expenses just piled up. I seem to have given myself a very small buffer. Now, lesson number 7, it sounds like a no-brainer, but apparently it's not. You need to allow yourself to evolve. Your goals change. The things that you want to achieve, the things that you want to do for yourself or for your family or for your friends, they change with time. There was a time when I was very sure that I was never going to buy a car because I'm usually at home. And if I'm traveling for work, I do not need to drive myself. So why would I get a car if I'm either at home or traveling for work? But early last year or in late 2022, there were so many cases about people getting dragged in cabs, and I remember I was going on a date and I was so stressed out about being in a cab at night alone. In my mind, I was like, yeah, no, we need to get a car, like for sure. Now, here is the kicker. I still get worried being out at night. Like I'm not comfortable being out at night. And there are advantages to having the car, especially for my own convenience in so many contexts. But buying the car did not solve my anxieties. Which also brings me to a bonus lesson. We buy things because we want to become different people. Like I thought if I buy a car, I'll stop being so worried about being out at night. But I am still worried about being out at night. It's just a different situation altogether. Anyway, I digress. The last lesson from this book for me was that freedom is the goal. It doesn't matter what your financial goals are. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, how much money you make. If you're not working towards freedom, whatever freedom looks like to you, then there's a problem somewhere. I remember there was a joke about people who quit their 9 to 5 jobs to start a business, and then they ended up working for 24 hours a day. And that is actually the reality. Like you quit because you want some freedom, then you put yourself in a situation where you actually have no freedom at all. The good thing about that kind of move, like leaving your job, is that as your business grows, you can delegate. So maybe you'll get some freedom at some point if your business picks up and you're able to employ people. The goal when it comes to money is for you to have freedom. Maybe it's freedom from debt. Maybe it's freedom from being tired all the time. Maybe it's freedom from having to work all the time. You define what freedom looks like for you and make sure that whatever you're doing financially is leading you towards that. I really do hope that you get to read this book. It's The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And if you do, let me know the lessons that you get from it. It's one of those timeless resources that I think you probably need to read over and over again if you enjoy this kind of work. I know some people will find it too technical, but for me, I actually like the way it's written. Anyway, that's all from me today. We'll catch up again next week, okay? Bye, babe.